Last week, the African National Congress blamed COVID-19 lockdown regulations and a technical glitch in its systems for its inability to submit its candidate list to the IEC ahead of the deadline. They had also specifically said that the technical glitches were on the IEC system's side. The party sought an extension then to the deadline. The pending ruling on the IEC's own application to the Constitutional Court to postpone the elections may also offer a glimmer of hope for the party. Joining us now for a comprehensive overview on how the ANC may fare in the elections is election analyst Mr. Wayne Sussman. So good to have you with us once again, Mr. Sussman, and thank you for your time. So let's take a look at the African National Congress right now. They have withdrawn their application to the Electoral Court and have pretty much said, let the dice fall where they may. Could there be a reason, or could the African National Congress, for some reason, believe that maybe the elections will be postponed and therefore this glitch may not actually affect them after all?
Good afternoon. That is absolutely critical for the ANC right now, that the Constitutional Court agrees with the Moseneke report and with the IEC suggestion that the elections get postponed. Because if that's not the case, then the ANC will find itself in a very, very difficult position. It's had examples of this in previous elections. I'll give an example of KwaNobuhle Township in next to Uitenhage in Nelson Mandela Bay municipality, where they failed to submit a candidate in a ward. There are other examples of this in other parts of the country, but nothing ever as potentially harming on this scale as we're seeing this time round.
If you could paint a global picture for us as to the extent of the omissions, how many wards does the ANC face to potentially lose out on, or at least be compromised in, should the elections go ahead in October?
Yeah, the ANC said there are 93 municipalities which will be affected across the country. Now, that is an enormous amount of municipalities. That is more than 30% of the municipalities in the country. But if you're an ANC supporter, say in the Eastern Cape, the damage seems to be less in that particular province. Whereas provinces like Gauteng, provinces like the Free State, provinces like KwaZulu-Natal, the Western Cape, those seem to be particularly badly hit, where we could face scenarios where there are municipalities where the ANC has been in control since the dawn of democracy in this country, where the ANC has never been properly threatened, where they now risk, first of all, the possibility of falling below 50% and possibly being removed from power. I'll give you one example, and that is the provincial capital where the ANC traditionally does the best in South Africa, and that's in Mbombela in Mpumalanga, the heartland of Vice President Didi Mabuza. There, the ANC only submitted candidates for 29 out of the 45 wards. And I want to just explain to you how damaging this can be. So 29 out of 45, that means they didn't submit candidates for 16 out of 45 wards. That is over 1/3 of the wards. Now, typically in a ward, political parties will hope that you vote for them on both ballots, the ward ballot and the proportional ballot, because the way seats get calculated in the local government election is to take the combined tally of both the ward ballot and the proportional ballot. Now, in 93 municipalities across the country, the ANC runs the risk of only potentially getting the proportional vote and not the ward vote. What that means in reality, and sorry about the statistics lesson or the mathematics lesson so early in the day, what that means in reality is that the ANC might only get up to 50% of the votes they're wishing to receive in that particular ward. So this is what it means. It means they might not only lose a ward, but they might lose control of the municipality. And it is very, very worrying for the ANC right now.
Apart from the number of municipalities where perhaps submissions have not been made, it seems to be important which wards actually were not submitted. And can you take us through those wards that could be make or break wards in this particular instance?
That's a great question. So there are three things which are critical to look at. First of all, when we read some of the national newspapers on Sunday morning, they said that there were municipalities where the ANC submitted no PR candidates. Now, that would mean that you wouldn't be able to vote for the ANC on the PR ballot in that ward. That would be catastrophic. What we now understand is that there might not be some PR candidates, and that's not a train smash. So that's the first thing. But with regards to your question about the wards, if, for instance, let's take Sol Plaatje municipality in the provincial capital of the Northern Cape, Kimberley. If, for instance, the majority of the ANC ward where the ANC hasn't put up a candidate is in or around the Galeshewe township, that means that the ANC would be leaving a lot of potential votes on the table. However, if the wards, and I haven't seen a total breakdown of the wards, were in suburbs like Belgravia or Hurlier, which are traditional DA strongholds in Kimberley, or Sol Plaatje, then it's not such a train smash, because the ANC would get less overall votes there. Because remember, as I said, it is crucial for viewers at home to remember this. In the local government elections, we take the ward vote, number of ward votes, we take the number of votes in the proportional ballot, and we combine those together to work out the overall seats you get in each municipality. So if the majority of those seats are in, say, Galeshewe Township, the traditional stronghold of the ANC in Sol Plaatje municipality, they would be very concerned.
Let's look at the non-submission of candidates, as in zero submissions of candidates for Kanaland in Ladysmith, Knysna, as well as Prince Albert. How will that influence the historic influence that the ANC has had in those particular areas?
Tommy, after the 2016 local government elections, if I remember correctly, the ANC were in control of very small number of municipalities in the Western Cape. Kanaland was one of them. Over time, the ANC, through winning by-elections, through able to lure away coalition partners, the DA formed coalitions with in 2016, the ANC have taken over Kanaland, Knysna, which is a key municipality, a key part of the Garden Route, lots of tourism over there. They have taken control of Prince Albert, which they didn't have control of in 2016. And Kanaland's always messy. Politics is very interesting there. But those are three municipalities which have tasted ANC government over the last 5 years and predating that. For the ANC not to have any ward candidates in those municipalities, which are critical to the ANC one day, for their sake, taking back control in the Western Cape, because these are areas where their performance has improved, is very, very worrying. It would not only from an electoral point of view, i.e. have no ward councillors, but also imagine those hard-working activists. Imagine those candidates who are told you are going to represent the ANC in Kanaland in Ward 1 and Ward 2 and Ward 3 and Ward 4, find themselves no longer on the list. They are going to be deflated. They're going to be demotivated. And the ANC will really hope that the court will agree to the postponement of the election so that the candidate lists will be opened up again.
A slightly better submission rate, better than the 0%. They submitted between 50 to 60% of the candidates for Maluti Apofong, Machabeng in Welkom, as well as the Tlhabeng in Bethlehem. How does this impact their performance there?
Historically speaking, Maluti Apofong, which is the Putatijaba, Kwakwa, and Harrismith area of the Free State, Tlhabeng, which is Bethlehem, and the third municipality, which is Machabeng, Welkom, apologies there, which is another key, that's the Goldfields part of the Free State. These are ANC strongholds. And what we've seen over the last 5 years, let's start with Maluti Apofong, is that a local party, the MAP 16 movement, so the MAP 16 civic movement have made inroads in that municipality. They won 10 wards off the ANC in by-elections. Independent candidates who now form part of the MAP16 movement won 10 by-elections off the ANC in 2019. The DA have also made inroads, slow inroads in Matshabeng. With you only submitting candidates in 50 to 60% of the wards, it means that there's a very high probability that A, you'll get below 50%, and B, and no one saw this coming, particularly in Dichlabeng, having the potential of not only facing stronger opposition, whether it's local parties or other national parties like the DA and the EFF and the Freedom Front, but also not being in play in 40% of the wards. That is catastrophic. It means you'll not only get under 50%, but run the risk of losing control of those municipalities, which the ANC has run since our first local government election.
Let's look then at the submissions for Tshwane as well as Ekurhuleni. How do those vote?
Again, these are Tshwane out of our 8 metros in South Africa is the most difficult and complex metro to predict what's going to happen this time round. It is very, very tight. Yes, I would say that right now the ANC, well, up until a few weeks ago, were the favorite to be the largest party, but it was certainly clear that they wouldn't get over 50%, and neither was it clear that the current largest party in that council, the DA, the Democratic Alliance, would get over 50%. And that means it was very hard to predict what was going to go on there. We now find that the ANC is not on the ballot in 12 out of 107 wards. That's 10% of the wards will not have an ANC candidate. In a competitive municipality, that is potentially debilitating. That could be the difference between able to form a coalition and take control from the DA and its coalition partners, or continuing in the opposition ranks for the next 5 years. Ekurhuleni has been the flagship metro for the ANC. They've shown how they can run a coalition effectively. It's been their pride in Gauteng. And they are also not on about 10% of the wards in that municipality. That could be the difference between them winning an outright majority to them falling under 50% again and having to go around and look for coalition partners. It's anything but ideal.
So this is the landscape as things stand, should the elections go ahead in October. But this picture might just change depending all on the Constitutional Court ruling and whether the elections are postponed until February of next year. Mr. Wayne Sussman, thank you once again for breaking that down for us and for your analysis. That's Mr. Wayne Sussman there. He is an election analyst.